Oh my gosh, guys, it's the Golden Amethyst Warden. It has a 0.0001% chance of spawning.
These are the funniest fake Minecraft speedruns of all time. This first speedrun begins, and at a first glance, everything appears to be pretty normal. He's in survival mode, he selected the first slot of his inventory, and he has 0 XP. But take a very close look at the area surrounding him when he spawns in. In a real Minecraft speedrun, your character will always spawn parallel to the surrounding blocks. But in this speedrun, you can clearly see that the speedrunner is actually facing diagonally. This all means that the speedrunner has already generated this world and the loading screen was fake. So he makes his way to a nearby village where he gathers some hay and gets some beds. He then opens this chest that contains some pretty interesting loot: apples, bread, and 3 diamonds. Now you may not even realize it, but some of this loot is completely fake. A diamond is only able to spawn in one specific village house, a blacksmith. But rewind the footage to just a few seconds earlier, where we can clearly see that this house is not a blacksmith, meaning the speedrunner placed the diamond himself in creative mode to get an advantage, because he uses these very diamonds to craft himself a diamond destroyer. That thing is powerful. So the run continues with the runner looking to locate a ruined portal, and he happens to find one pretty quickly, which seems awfully suspicious. Well, rewind the footage to just a few seconds earlier, where if you zoom in on this specific tree, do you see how it makes out the shape of an arrow with its leaves? This was clearly created by the speedrunner as a way to remember which direction the ruined portal was located. So he loots the chest at the ruined portal, which contains 2 obsidian, fairly normal loot. The only problem is that means he's just 1 block short to complete the portal. So how is he gonna travel to the nether? Well, the speedrunner pulls out a dirt block, places it in the final slot for the portal, and this guy's dumb. This clearly is not gonna work. How did that work? I'm not even gonna try to explain how he did that. So the runner spawns into the nether and things seem fairly normal. He's still in survival mode, he doesn't have any potion effects, and he starts searching for a fortress. But pause the footage at this frame, where the speedrunner opens his inventory, where we can spot a singular fire resistance potion hidden in the corner. But look, just a few seconds ago when he spawned into the nether, he clearly didn't have this potion in his inventory. Well, if you actually place this part of the footage in slow motion, you can actually see that there was a clear cut in the video as the lava completely jumps forward in time, meaning the speedrunner cut the video and got the fire resistance potion off camera. So using this potion, it's extremely easy for the runner to kill blazes and get 7 rods. Now a normal speedrunner would then make his way to a bastion to collect ender pearls, but this speedrunner decides to head straight back to the overworld. Interesting, and it will make sense soon. So the runner spawns in, but without ender pearls, it's impossible for him to locate the stronghold. Well, he finds a nearby village and opens a chest with pretty normal loot: bread, iron, and a waystone? There's no way this is a real Minecraft item. So he gets the waystone, places it down, and when he clicks it, teleports straight into the stronghold. Is that even possible? Now, even though the runner managed to get to the stronghold, he still doesn't have any ender pearls to complete the portal. So he opens this chest, and while it may appear as though these are completely normal items, one item in particular isn't able to spawn in this chest: the lever. And it's clear the speedrunner placed it there himself because he uses this lever for something very specific: to turn off the lights? Is that even possible? So the speedrunner waits until exactly 1 minute has passed before the lights turn back on. And let me know if you can see what's different about the world. Well, compare the end portal from before and after the lights have been turned off. It's been completely filled in, meaning the portal was filled by someone else while the lights were off. So the runner jumps in the portal, but finds an unsuspecting guest when he spawns into into the end. Is that Herobrine? Things just got scary. So Herobrine types in the chat demanding that the player throws every single one of his items into the void as a sacrifice. So probably scared out of his mind, the speedrunner complies and gets rid of all of his items. And after the sound of the lightning strike, the Ender Dragon has been mysteriously killed. Was it Herobrine? I guess we're never going to know. This next run begins, and at a first glance, it appears to be fairly normal. He's in survival mode, he selected the first slot of his inventory, and he doesn't have any XP. But in the bottom right corner, he gets the message that someone has joined his world. This means the speedrunner is playing on a multiplayer server, something clearly not allowed during a solo speedrun. So the runner loots some chests, collects some beds, and starts to fight the Iron Golem. But while he's doing this, zoom in and look very closely into the distance, where we can spot a nether portal being built out of thin air. Clearly, it's another player building this, likely the same one who joined the world earlier in the run. So the runner makes his way to the man-made ruin portal, where he enters the nether and starts to trade with piglins, where the speedrunner manages to get 16 ender pearls from a single trade, which is literally impossible, as the max amount of pearls a piglin can drop per trade is 4. But rewind the footage and slow it down slightly. If you look very closely, you can actually see that the ender pearls aren't coming from the piglin, but actually coming from the side. And if you look even closer, you can see particles floating in the air. What does this mean? This is clearly the same friend we've seen throughout the speedrun, using an invisibility potion and dropping ender pearls himself. So the speedrunner then makes his way to a nearby fortress. But things only get worse, because during his fight with all the blazes, one blaze seems to be slightly different from the rest. There's no way he actually thought people would believe this is a real blaze. So after getting some rods, the runner heads back into the overworld. Now, we've seen his friend do some pretty funny things throughout the speedrun, but I don't think anyone expected for him to come on the screen wearing a skin with coordinates to the strongholds. And I gotta give it to him, that's insanely creative. So after looking at his friend's skin, he's easily able to locate the position of the stronghold, where he crafts his Eyes of Ender and enters into the end, and conveniently spawns in right next to Spider-Man? Is this actually the real one, or is it just his friend we've seen throughout the run? Well, Spider-Man does all of the dirty work for him, and all he has to do is run on the surface and jump in the portal. This next speedrun begins, and on the surface, it appears fairly normal. He's in survival mode, there's no items in his inventory, and the runner's facing completely straight. However, take an extremely close look at this village house. In a normal village house, the entrance will always include a stair right in front of the door. But in this speedrun, we can clearly see that instead of a stair, there's a wood plank, meaning the speedrunner deliberately marked out this village house, because the chest inside contains iron, apples, and a grenade launcher. Remember this for later. The runner then makes his way to a nearby lava pool. But if you look closely, the speedrunner has an empty bucket of water in his inventory, not one with water, which means there's no way for the speedrunner to create a nether portal like a normal speedrun. But somehow, even though his bucket is literally empty, he's actually able to place water. That is absolutely mind-blowing. So after summoning water out of literal thin air, the speedrunner enters the nether. Now, the issue with this spawn into the nether is that the speedrunner somehow has a fire resistance effect, even though he clearly didn't have this seconds earlier when he was the overworld. The only possible explanation is that the speedrunner has already traveled to the nether, and he almost would have gotten away with this until you look closer into the corner of the screen where a singular wooden pickaxe can be located. Clearly, the speedrunner tried to get rid of it off camera but forgot to clean it up. The speedrunner then makes his way to a nearby bastion where he collects gold blocks and starts to trade with piglins until he finds, let's just say, a rather strange looking piglin. But don't worry, there's no way this piglin can actually trade loot. Wait, how did he just get ender pearls? I'm so confused. So the runner then begins to search for a nether fortress. But notice how fast the speedrunner is running. Way faster than the normal Minecraft character speed. Well, take a close look at the top right corner of the screen. Normally, this is the exact area where potion effects are displayed in Minecraft. But the speedrunner has conveniently placed a subscribe button in the exact same spot. Meaning, the speedrunner is trying to hide the fact that he's using a speed potion he likely got off camera. So he finally makes his way to the fortress and after killing Blazes, gets 7 rods. Now, I want you to take a mental image of his inventory at this very moment. You'll see why this is important in a few seconds. So, the runner leaves the fortress before randomly deciding to change tabs from Minecraft to Fortnite and literally starts to play. Now, while it may appear that he's being dumb by wasting a ton of time, he's actually using this as a way to try to cheat. Because when he logs off Fortnite and finally returns back to Minecraft, take a very close look at his inventory. There has been a netherite sword magically added to his hotbar when this exact slot was empty before he started playing Fortnite. It's pretty clear he used Fortnite as a way to distract us from adding an overpowered item to his inventory off camera. The speedrunner then makes his way back to the overworld. Now, a normal speedrunner would now use the process of triangulation to locate the position of the stronghold, but this speedrunner claims to have a brand new method that's even easier. Let's take a listen.
So all you have to do is go to the nearest tree, go 10 blocks to the right, and dig straight down.
Alright, so no way will this actually work. It's not actually gonna lead into the strongholds. How did that work? Now you're probably thinking that this speedrunner is some sort of genius, but there's one small detail which reveals this method is completely fake. Take an extremely close look at the tree he uses to quote-unquote locate the strongholds. Do you notice how the texture of this piece of wood is slightly different from the rest of the tree? Well, this is because the piece of wood is actually horizontal, not vertical, which isn't possible to spawn naturally, meaning the speedrunner deliberately marked out this tree as a way to remember the stronghold was directly under it. So the runner enters the stronghold, finds the end portal room, and enters the portal. Now, a normal Minecraft speedrunner would then use beds or even a bow to kill the ender dragon. But do you remember earlier when the speedrunner found a grenade launcher in this village chest? Well, he equips it and nothing else needs to be said. This next speedrun starts with the runner mining some wood and crafting some tools, where he then finds a nearby village. He starts by collecting some hay and killing the iron golem, but the speedrunner then finds a very strange house in the village called the Nether House? What explanation is he going to give for this?
Okay, we're going in the brand new village house called the Nether House. It's a brand new feature.
So he enters the house and the chest contains all of the necessary items to enter the nether. At least the house was named properly. So using his items from the Nether House, the speedrunner enters the nether, where he suddenly starts building straight up, digs through the roof, and ends up straight into the fortress. He clearly already knew the position of the fortress before recording. So the speedrunner searches for the blaze spawner, where he instead finds Notch, and the speedrunner is absolutely ecstatic.
Oh my gosh, guys, we found Notch in the speedrun. That's so lucky.
So Notch gives the speedrunner a full stack of blaze rods. Since when did Notch just give players items? So the runner collects his rods from Notch and begins to search for a nearby bastion. But the runner decides to randomly stop moving, even though the timer is still going. Let's check in on his audio to figure out what's going on.
Guys, I'm really sorry. My dad just told me I gotta go take out the trash, so I'll be back.
And the speedrunner cuts off the footage. He does realize he's in a speedrun, right?
5 hours later.
Sorry guys, I'm back. Just had to take care of that really quick.
So the speedrunner finally returns to the game, but he actually just cheated. Because if you look closely at his inventory, he suddenly has 16 ender pearls. Even though we clearly saw he never went to a bastion. Meaning he used taking out the trash as an excuse to cut the video and get ender pearls off camera. So the runner crafts himself a portal and heads back to the overworld, where he decides to start looking for the stronghold, but strangely does not use any of his eyes of ender to do so. But this will make sense soon. So after trying to search for it without eyes of ender, he suddenly gets the urge to dig down at this specific block.
I have a feeling the stronghold is under this block. Trust me, it's gonna work.
And to my amazement, this actually leads him straight into the strongholds. But how did the speedrunner know to dig down at this exact block if he didn't even use Eyes of Ender? Well, take a very close look at the surrounding area before the speedrunner dug down. Do you notice this flower just a few blocks away from where he digs down? Well, this is a flower known as the Lily of the Valley. The problem is, this flower is only able to spawn in a flower forest biome, but we can clearly see the speedrunner is in a plains biome. This all means that the runner placed it himself in creative mode to remind him that the stronghold was under this location. So, the runner finds the end portal room and crafts his eyes to finish the portal. But when the speedrunner jumps in, he gets sent to the nether? Is that even possible? Well, he happens to spawn directly next to a room, which not only has a chest with all of the items he needs to kill the ender dragon, but a fully lit end portal for him to use extremely quickly. So he gathers the overpowered items and gets teleported to the end. And using these items, the fight ends very quickly. Subscribe for more fake Minecraft speedruns.